Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Disney executives. Why go with quality when you can have quantity? Let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by the Dragonfly Inn. Get away from it all at the best B&B in Connecticut. Book your stay at the Dragonfly Inn. Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers, actors, writers, musicians, producers, all of the things and probably more. There's so much that goes into all kind of creativity, which is, pretty cool that film encapsulates all those things. It's performance, it's obviously writing, it's music, it's photography, and so much. I mean, it's wardrobe, it's set decorating, it's finding the right location, it's getting there on time, it's starting your day on time, it's creating the right environment for the right scene. There's a million things that goes into any production, short film or, epic. It doesn't really matter. There's so much that goes into it, and so many people that it's like the only team sport I have left, right? Like we're, well past high school and collegiate sports age. And this is the kind of same feeling that you get when you're running a play in football. It's like, okay, we huddle up, here's what we're going to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, we talked about this before, right? A few days ago in practice, we talked about this one, right, guys? Okay, well, yeah, go do your job. And so, and that's what being on set is like. Everyone knows their job, and you show up, and you get to do it all together as a team. And whenever the play works, man, it really feels like a touchdown, just to belabor the stupid sports metaphors here. Like, it's so cool. Like, it's a really great feeling whenever you're watching playback on a shot and you see it all just come together. You see the performance nails. An actor showed up ready to go and delivered. And that's hard in itself. Try really hard to, be calm. Do your best to be calm. It's like, it's really hard to act on cue and to deliver a thing when everyone wants you to deliver it. It takes a lot of talent and skill and expertise to do that kind of thing. And yet the performance is there. The lighting, that went into probably years of training of how to light for this exact moment, all the skills and ideas that went into developing this, and the focus pullers, nailing focus, all those things come together. It's so cool. Like, this is a really cool team sport. And I'm always excited, like, to get to be on set and create things and then to see how it all turns out. But I'm also as excited just to watch a movie, learn from it, and talk about how it moved me. Because at the end of the day, all that said, all the sports, bashing, whatever, like, this is art. And it's speaking, in the best of times, it's speaking to the human element, this universal thing that we're all experiencing of being alive. And that's a really cool thing to, hey, I recognize that feeling. I've had those feelings. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just blabbering on. I have a hangover.
Yeah, and Bill Murray's performance in the film we're gonna cover today is a great example, of that, being ready, showing up, being able to encapsulate multitudes, at the same time, and it just feels like an entire team working towards the same goal. And when you get that, it's better than anything that you could do by yourself, really. You could sit in your room and make something by yourself, and it's got to feel great. But when you can do it with other people, and that other people support it and believe in it enough to give their time and their effort and their creativity, and it all comes together, and it's like, yes, this is what I was wanting. It's so much better. It's so much better. I know you probably felt that, on your last film that you just released.
Yeah.
That you're releasing, that you submitted to festivals, whatever. Just having professionals at what they do, being a part of something, and everybody really syncing and coming together and making this thing that takes a vision in your head and makes it reality. It's pretty incredible, honestly.
Isn't it? And so, yeah, what are we covering today? What is this Bill Murray movie you speak of?
Yes, today we are covering Lost in Translation, Sofia Coppola's film from 2003. So if you haven't seen this film, please pause the episode and go watch it, because I don't want to spoil the feeling that this film provides you.
Yeah, we'll look at a bunch of things, I'm sure. Again, bear with me. I had a lot of wine last night.
No excuse.
Show up, it's game time.
Yeah.
But we'll dive into some of the cinematography. We'll talk about specificity and purpose with the camera. And of course, we'll talk about the story and writing at a minimum. We'll talk about like Tokyo and language as a metaphor and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. A fading movie star falls for a lonely young woman in Tokyo. It's written and directed by Sofia Coppola, cinematography by Lance Acord. It's featuring Bill Murray as Bob, Scarlett Johansson as Charlotte, Giovanni Ribisi as John, and Anna Farris as Kelly.
So what are you doing here?
A couple of things. Taking a break from my wife, forgetting my son's birthday, and getting paid $2 million to endorse a whiskey when I could be doing a play somewhere.
Oh.
But the good news is the whiskey works. What are you doing?
My husband's a photographer, so he's here working, and wasn't doing anything, so I came along, and we have some friends that live here.
How long have you been married?
Oh, thank you. 2 years?
25 long ones.
You're probably just having a midlife crisis. Did you buy a Porsche yet?
You know, I was thinking about buying a Porsche.
In 25 years. It's impressive.
Well, you figure you sleep 1/3 of your life. That knocks off 8 years of marriage right there. So you're down to 16 and change, and you're just a teenager at marriage. You can drive it, but there's still the occasional accident.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm not sure yet, actually. I just graduated last spring.
What did you study?
Philosophy.
Yeah, there's a good buck in that racket.
Yeah. Well, so far it's pro bono.
Well, I'm sure you'll figure out the angles.
Yeah. I hope your Porsche works out. Cheers to that, huh?
Cheers to that. Kampai.
Dude, yeah, this is an interesting movie. I'm definitely curious, like, how long it's been since you've seen it. I assume you've seen it before, but if not, obviously, walk me through that. But I think my number one question that I'd love to hear you answer is this a love story or not?
That's a great question. I think yes, but I don't think it's a love story in the way that most love stories are. I think it's a love story about life, because you see her when she goes on her walk and she gets on the train and she goes to see monks at this temple, and then she calls her mom, I guess it is, and says she felt nothing. She's in this beautiful foreign place and safe and everything, and sees this beautiful moment, and she can't find any joy in it. And he's obviously the same way, but the love is, that he's lost is like basically for his family, I think. I mean, for anything really, for what he does for a living to his family. And you can see that in the conversations with his wife. They're short. She's frustrated with him. He's mentioned to her that she used to, come to set with him and stuff, and now she doesn't anymore. And she's resentful to him, and maybe rightfully so. I mean, the guy is kind of a shitbag in many respects. I mean, he ends up cheating on her with the
lounge
singer,
Yeah.
the lounge singer, and emotionally cheating on her with Charlotte. But sometimes, I think it's beautiful because sometimes you can find this kind of reinvigoration in an unexpected place, in an unwanted place, perhaps. I mean, they're both married. And so it's almost like it's more okay for him to sleep with the lounge singer than it is to sleep with her. I mean, obviously their ages are very vastly different, but they see in each other something that's special that they don't see anywhere else in the world, right? And so what they see is not necessarily that, I don't know, to me, not necessarily that they're falling in love with each other, but they're falling in love with the idea, with the fact that the world contains this other person, this other feeling, this other, like, this is part of the world. And so the way that she starts seeing the world is different. You start to see her smile more, and she doesn't necessarily say that she finds joy in things, I don't think.
But there is that extra moment when she goes back and she goes to another temple and she witnesses that woman walking, and she sees the man help her up the steps, and it's very gentle, very light, but you can see something change in her.
You see, you're right. Yes. So you do see it in her, and that's a really wonderful thing. That's definitely because of him. It's definitely because of Bob, because she knows him, that he exists in the world. So now she sees that in other things. She sees that in that man gently helping her up the steps, which is the most delicate thing I've ever seen on film. I don't know, like, it's so delicate. I remember thinking, why? It's a step. Two, you're barely touching her. Like, how is this helping at all? But it doesn't matter. Like that's, so she sees this beauty and delicateness in the world when she didn't before. And I think that he sees, the fact that he's not dead. He's not like over the hill past his prime. Like, there is still, maybe he's lost a little bit of, I think he still loves his wife, but maybe he's lost a little bit of that. And he sees the fact that does exist still in the world. Because if you're, if all you know of love is one person and that one person is disconnected from you, you can't see it anywhere else in the world with anybody else. You don't want to see it with anybody else. Because you're thinking, I had that and I lost it. So now I think that he sees that does exist. And so, so I do think it's a love story, but more with about life in general, and beauty, than it is between them. It probably is a little bit of a love story between them too, like on the surface, just right there, in your face, especially with the ending, the way that it is. But even that, I think, was just so sweet, and innocent, but aggressively innocent. The kiss on the mouth, did not expect. And I did read that was improvised by Bill Murray, the kiss.
Really?
Yeah. And so, Scarlett Johansson, her performance is fantastic. So the way she responded to that was just so beautiful. That whole scene, I think for us, I felt massive pain until that moment. Like with him, the way that he was leaving, their interaction when she brought him his jacket. She's like, okay, well, bye. And then she didn't even look back. Like, she walked into the elevator. She could have looked up. She never did. I felt like I was getting the rug pulled out from under me. I was, as a viewer, was like, no, this is not how we're going to end this. We cannot end this like this. And then him spotting her and getting out and running to her was so great. It was so wonderful. And then for them to have that moment, that quiet moment where he mumbles something in her ear, that's supposed to be just for them. And I know the internet has kind of like figured out what he said and everything, but
funny.
But it's supposed to be just a moment for them, and it makes her smile. It makes him smile. And then as he's walking away, we have this kind of like, okay, now I feel like that's okay. It's okay to say goodbye to this. There's nothing hanging anymore. And it's just so beautifully done. It's a masterclass in storytelling through emotion. And Bill Murray is, I can't name another performance of his that comes close to this. This is incredible. The layers that he has, especially, in the scenes where the one scene where the director of the commercial was trying to direct him, but in Japanese, and he's like, what, putting his hand on his face and stuff. He has to show a little annoyance, but still be fun and funny, and still be professional, but be over it at the same time in between. And he does that so well. And even at the end, when she's walking to the elevator and he's having to take photos with these people, and he's having to smile, but then like look back at her. Like, when you think about acting, these are things that you don't think about. It's just like, oh, what somebody did. But it's so much more than that. He has to be conflicted. He wants to run to her or see her look back. He wants to see her look back. But at the same time, he's trying to take these photos and smile, but give a half smile, not a full one. But maybe he gives a full one, but it's like quick and annoyed. And then he looks back. So delicate. This entire movie is so delicate in every single way. And it's just unbelievable. It really, really is. Every time I watch, I think I've seen it at least 3, maybe 4 times. And every time I watch it, I feel exact same. Every time. Like this, it's never watered down, So anyway, fantastic.
I saw it after it came out, and I think I've only watched it once since then, but I didn't even really watch it. I put it on with the intention to watch it, and my attention got away, and it just became background noise. And so hitting play, after 20 years, and watching this was like, I didn't know what I was going to get, if I was just going to be bored.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was completely like, I don't remember how I felt watching this the first time. I remember everyone loving it. That's clear. Everyone was crazy over this movie. And I couldn't remember if I reacted the same way as everyone else. As opposed to like Garden State, when I watched that the first time, I was just smitten, and I've never forgotten that feeling. And so hitting play, yesterday was just like, okay, what's going to happen? And I completely forgot it opens on Scarlett Johansson's ass, like in these panties. And I was like, wait, what's happening? Okay. I mean, great choice, I guess. I don't know. I still don't know what it means. It's like, it's an arresting opening shot, no question. But other than that, it's like her in bed, I guess, by herself. I don't know. Great artistic choice. Definitely sets a mood. But the further this movie got in, I was just, you just can't help but be pulled in. I mean, Bill Murray, he's a one of a kind, you're not going to get any other Bill Murrays, in this life. And he is just someone who's so watchable. No matter what you put him in, he finds himself being honest. And I can see every once in a while, there's a moment where he wants to be dishonest, and he tries and he can't. He just comes right back to who he is. And he's just this very dry, hilariously dry. Like, he's going to make you laugh with his inability to make himself laugh. And that's this weird little joy he gets out of the world of, being his own person. And I love it. And so watching him in that very first commercial where the director is spouting all this Japanese at him, he's trying to understand. He's like, okay, yeah. And he's waiting. Then finally the translator walks in. It's like, he wants you to turn your head. And he's like, was that, I feel like there was more there, but she's like, just turn your head. He's like, okay. And then, it progresses, and it's so funny. This idea, and it's not a new idea. I mean, Wayne's World did it in the 90s, right? This idea of someone drops, 30 seconds of dialogue and it translates into 2 words. That's an old idea made fresh again, by adding Bill Murray and grounding it. Like, it's such a much more grounded, real scene because, you have a director who's probably just getting all up in his head, being artistic. And he's like, we got you here. We flew you out here to Japan, and you don't speak our language. And he's probably just going off on them. Like, but at the end of the day, you're a movie star, and this is Hollywood. This is big cinema, and you're like James Bond. And he's giving them all this. And so I want you to look to the camera and say your line, and he's building. And the woman's just like, just turn your head. Like, and so I can see all this actual reality that's built into this grounded scene that is just hilarious, because now you're emphasizing, and all the way up to that moment, they were getting this idea across that he's a fish out of water, right? And there's these very beautifully composed shots of contrast, him in the elevator, and it's just one frame, and she tells such good stories in simple frames. And that's one of the beautiful things that makes this movie work, is that she's not trying to do too much. She's letting us go to the story and inviting you in. She's not pushing it on you. She's inviting you into this space. And here's a frame of him in an elevator. Oh, yeah, fish out of water. Here's him taking a shower. Again, a fish in the water is still a fish out of water. Like, it's so interesting. And then finally, when you get to set, it's been bubbling up, like the hilarity of it. And then the language barrier just comes shouting at you. It's like, oh, and Bill Murray doing what he does is the perfect icing on that cake. And going through the rest of the movie, because it takes half an hour before they meet. They really let you sit in their isolation and loneliness. Yeah,
I was surprised. I did not remember that. Every time they were in the bar, I was like, okay, they're going to meet. Oh, no, they're not meeting yet. Oh, my God. Okay, maybe next day. Nope. Wow. Yeah.
And it helps, right? By the time they finally do meet, you're ready for them to not be alone anymore. And then they still make you wait another 10 minutes because they meet briefly. That scene that we played is them, their first real interaction. She sends a drink over to him at the bar a few minutes before that. And then we finally get to them having a drink together. And then it's still another, 10 minutes or so before they have their first adventure. Oh my God. And so you feel their necessity for each other and why there's this gravitational pull. It's so wonderful. You get by the end of the movie, you're so conflicted. You just yeah, I don't know that they're right for each other, but I can't help but feel that they are. It's a really beguiling feeling, it's
and their ages are so different. It's just how could this possibly?
He's in his 50s and she's playing someone in her mid-20s, but I think she's 19 when they're filming that, 18, 19 years old when they were shooting that. And
she looks it.
She's also really well, developed, and I think that adds to a sense of maturity for her. But her performance is just
it's crazy.
She doesn't feel like a 19-year-old. That performance is filled with, and I can't remember if she did Girl with the Pearl Earring before this or after. I think it was before. But assuming that, maybe I'll pull that up here in a second. It would have made sense for Sofia Coppola to have seen that film and says, oh, she's exactly what, I don't care that she's 5 years too young.
Same year.
She made that in the same freaking
2003.
What a coming out party. My God.
Really, and then what? Then she did a bunch of Marvel stuff.
There's a rant coming on that.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay, thank you.
But you get to the end of this movie and it's just, you described it perfectly. We can't end like this. We cannot end here. You just feel so, I don't know if hurt's the right word, but certainly unfulfilled.
Betrayed?
Yeah, betrayed.
Unfulfilled. Okay.
God. And so that moment he sees the back of her head and he's like, I got to just stop. And he gets out and he goes to her and has that moment for them. God, it's so wonderful. And you're like, okay, now I can move on with my life. There's something that happened there. There was an acknowledgement of what we were, whatever it was. Now, okay. And I think that's a relatable thing. Like, we've all probably had similar moments in our lives where there's this bubble that forms for a moment and it's effervescent, and that's okay. But it was real, and it was something that you needed and they needed. And I think that's the really cool thing about, there's, I think, a thread. I feel like some of the recent comments I've seen about this movie is how it's a bit of a mockery about other cultures and otherness and Japan, and it's like poking fun, and it's obviously not. You'd have to be very emotionally tone deaf to get that out of this movie for so many reasons. But Japan and the language, it's a metaphor for the world at large, and how you can walk through life and feel like no one is talking the same language as you.
And can I point out the reason why she has to be young and he has to be old is because they are going through two very important times in their life. She is lost because her life is beginning. She's finished with her studies and now she's got to figure out what the hell to do in her life. He's lost because he's already figured it out, and he's like not happy. So, and he's in midlife crisis. She's at the beginning of her life, or her, grown-up life crisis. And now they meet and are trying to answer these questions, in those stages of their life. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, and setting them in this space allows that contrast to become super clear. Because if you were having them in America, it would work to some extent, but it's not going to be as quickly obvious as you can make it here. Instead of an hour and 40, you might need 2.5 to really start to build out that sense of isolation and complete lack of understanding of everyone around them. Like
and if everybody's speaking a different language in the film, then you as a viewer are not latching on to them.
Yes. Now you're identifying with what they're experiencing in this world, and the ability to feel and laugh and also, kind of empathize. But that comedy element helps, us become a little bit more endearing of them. If that comedy element wasn't there, we'd probably be much more judgmental about Charlotte and Bob, like they're both married and here they are kind of having this emotional affair, and that's a little bit more forgiving whenever you're in this kind of hilarious environment. And then the other element of this isn't mockery of their culture. It's mockery of entertainment. Like, all the silliness comes through entertainment lenses, right? The talk show. This is a photographer, and he's photographing a band. You have an actor who's doing a commercial, and you have these loud, gregarious, creative types that are trying to get something. It's very performative because it's an industry thing, and I think there's probably another layer for Sofia Coppola that we're not aware of as someone who grew up in this kind of environment. Like her dad, Francis Ford Coppola, she grew up going to his sets and hanging out in some of these spaces. I saw a quote from her saying that she got to, as a kid, go to Akira Kurosawa's house. Like, what other kid got to do that? One of the most legendary filmmakers of all time, inspired Spielberg, George Lucas, Star Wars. Like, Akira Kurosawa is practically God. And she's like, yeah, I got to go to his house as a kid, and that's crazy. That's amazing. And so there's some element, of the entertainment business. I think there's a commentary about it and how interesting it is. It's interesting just to think about that lens while watching this movie, to see not just how people create it, but we also see how people consume it in a lot of ways, right? Whether it's the video games. We go into the video game arcade game, and she's just watching people play games and seeing how they enjoy that entertainment. That we go to a karaoke bar and we see how they enjoy partaking in music, and we watch them watching movies together. We watch him watching a movie by himself and watching his own work, and then we see a lounge singer, and we see, them get together, and like there's all kinds of this very simple and obvious, once you point it out, of like entertainment running through this entire movie, and that provides another layer of comedy to be able to laugh at these things, and that extra disparity of them at different stages in their life, him being a successful actor who's kind of stopped acting. It sounds like he hasn't been making anything. And I love that comment that he makes to her, where she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm making $2 million endorsing a whiskey when I could be doing a play somewhere." Like, he's unfulfilled because he's doing something for money, when in his soul, he should be doing something for him, doing a play, something meaningful. And they're both on this journey, the same exact journey at just different stages of life, of what am I doing, right? They both have the same book, audio cassette tape, A Soul Search, right? That she's going through and she's listening, she's trying to figure it out, which is really funny when you consider she's got a degree from Yale in philosophy. Like, shouldn't she already have all these answers? And yet, here she is, still working at it. And he, being an actor, has had the opportunity to play all kinds of different characters, and that's a different kind of soul searching. He's someone who's been not trying to play himself. That's his whole life and career, is playing other people. And that's another type of soul searching. Like, it's a really fascinating, layered thought about what we're all experiencing in life, of looking for meaning, looking for people who understand us. God, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It really is. There's so many layers in this film, and I think that we feel them the whole time. I mean, I have it playing right here, and there's even like this the way that Bill Murray reacts to things is so interesting, because you would think that as a seasoned actor, for example, he might get frustrated at the director doesn't want to, or like can't speak English, and he's trying, and then the person who's translating is like obviously not doing it right. Like, you think he'd get frustrated and angry, but he doesn't even have that to give. He's just, and then the scene where the prostitute comes to his room and she falls on the ground. His reaction is priceless. He like looks up, he's like, and then and then she tackles him. It's just fantastic in all the ways. Even the cinematography captures the size of the city without making the characters feel small. I think that's really beautiful. That we have these cutaways, these transitional cutaways to show the size of the city, but then we come in small to them wherever they are. And so just to remind us that we are in this place, this like foreign place, and it's just so well done. I don't know if I can. I mean, there are some other films. I think you brought it up earlier. Garden State is another great example of a film. It's just like it's emotion on the screen the entire time, and I feel like that's even in the funny parts of this film. It's there. It's just constantly there, like underneath. And that comes from the performances. And like Scarlett Johansson has this other gear that I think I just feel like the world needs a little bit more of, that they haven't gotten. And I know you have a rant you want to go on. I can't wait to hear it. But I think that that's been stolen from us in a lot of ways since then. And I wish that we could have more of it. There's this whole, it's almost like what they do, and I'm including Sofia Coppola in this. The less they do, the better this is. The camera doesn't do a whole lot. You know, like it's not all over the place. Sometimes it's handheld, sometimes it's not, and it's on sticks, but you never notice. The lighting is never, you know, really aggressive. Even in the scenes where he's in the acting scenes that he has to do when he's, you know, with the drink, it's not overly lit. You know, it's not dramatic. It's just, here's what we need to put on the screen. That's what we're going to put on the screen, and that's it. And it's because of the understatement of it, I never feel like I'm being taken out of it. I never feel like I'm I'm watching a production, or I'm watching acting, or I'm watching directing. It's just, I'm seeing these two people find each other through the chaos of what is of this place that they're in, and be affected by each other. It's just so beautiful. It's like I'm watching life happen.
Amen. Like the camera work in here is one to really study, not because, and I think it's always easy to study some of these, like a Spielberg, right, who is just amazing at moving the camera. And here it's about the restraint. And I love it because nothing in this film, camera-wise, is done to look cool. And I think that's such a trap so many filmmakers fall into of, I just need to make it, you know, like visually arresting and interesting and make it cool. And they lose track of telling a story. That thing you said at the beginning, like, just, we're here to watch a story. We're not here to see your pretty lights. We're not here to see your fancy camera moves. We're here to engage in a story. And once you understand the story you're trying to tell, you know where to put the camera. Because that's all you're doing is, what's this moment about? How am I trying to capture it? And here, like the compositions, the movement, it all communicates a feeling or an idea to the viewer. And it's absolutely fantastic because there's never a belaboring of, if you want to tell a story about being lonely, let us watch them be lonely. And if you're just trying to make really beautiful compositions and cool, interesting shots, we're going to be in there tight, we're going to be in there close, we're going to be whipping the camera around. And it's the stillness that we need. We need to see them moving about the frame. We need to see, you know, Bob in that elevator just towering. We need to see him struggling to take a shower. We need to see him having whiskey by himself. And then we're going to pan over to reveal two suits pestering him. Is that Jared Leto having a whiskey at the bar at the beginning?
That can't be.
No? Okay. I'm not good with faces, but
I need to go. I'll go look again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have it playing, and it's just the scene of him on the elliptical, which I literally laughed out loud. Help! It's just so good. Anyway, keep going, please.
But we're watching him in his own frame having whiskey at this interesting strip, you know, table, and we pan over to see two people in a two-shot together. And then we pan back to him by himself, like we're isolating him as much as possible. And then when we start putting other people in his frame, i.e. Charlotte, it suddenly feels like he's not alone anymore. And so we can start to feel what he's feeling through the lack and through the provision. And it's just beautiful. Same thing with Charlotte. Like, we're watching her, she can't sleep. And we see her in her room sitting against the window in the windowsill, right, against the city. Then she's trying to wake her husband up, and he won't. He like rolls over and tells her to go to sleep and puts her in a headlock, and then he goes back to sleep. You know, we're watching her at the shrine. Oh, that moment when she gets back from the shrine and she calls home. She's talking to her mom, and she's like verklempt and just can't hold it together. And we all have those moments when you're dealing with something and you're trying to communicate it to someone and they just won't listen. They just won't shut up and listen to you. Instead, they got their own thing going on, and that happens, you know, but it's such an isolating feeling. And for her, trying to have a conversation, right? This whole movie is talking about translation and ideas and that are communicated through words, this verbal idea. And here she is trying to verbalize something that she's struggling with. And even people in English. And that's why I you know, really hate when people think that this is about mocking, you know, other cultures, when it's obviously not. Because all the other people in her life that speak English still can't understand her. her husband can't understand her. This vapid actress, right? Anna Faris is so good. She's so good.
She's the worst. So good.
She's vapid. She's attention seeking, right? And she's talking like she's figured it all out. I believe in reincarnation, and this idea that we're all coming back, and like to her, she's got life figured out. It's all about living again. And that conversation at the table, she's can't really handle attention being elsewhere. My dad was anorexic, and watching Charlotte like choke a laugh off, like, what? What are you talking about here? Not that guys can't be anorexic, but it's like not very common. And her coming from her, you just know it's bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Then she tells,
it's perfect.
Oh, the story that she tells about the Bay of Pigs. I mean, if it's true, it's absolutely like horrific, of course. But the way she starts it is hilarious. She says, my dad fought on the American side in the Bay of Pigs in Cuba. Like, what did you think we were going to assume? That your dad fought with Che Guevara? Like,
yeah, right?
get the fuck out of here. And then attention shifts, and this guy is talking about making beats, and Charlotte could not be less interested in his idea about using reverb on a beat. This groundbreaking
I was
idea.
intrigued.
Reverb. It's growing. It's evolving. The beat's evolving, which might actually be true. I don't know. That's an interesting idea. It's just not interesting coming from that guy.
Yeah.
But she launches into, oh my God, you guys listen. You have to try this power cleanse. Promise me. Like, everyone speaking English is in a different wavelength, right? And it's just reinforcing this idea that she really is by herself. Her husband doesn't understand her and doesn't appreciate her. The jokes, the subtle, dry humor that she's lobbing. Like, Evelyn Wong was a guy. He's like, could you just not know everything for a minute? It's like, I was just making a joke. Like, Bob would have laughed. If she had said that to Bob, he would have laughed, and wouldn't necessarily be making fun of the other person. It's like, oh, that's just a funny, realization, like observation. And her husband is just like feeling offended. And that's part of like relationships in general, and why I think it's also beautiful. Their relationship ended when it did. It didn't go long enough to become negative, where they eventually get tired of each other and have those bumps in the road, as all relationships do. Like, if you live long enough, you go through the teenage years of rebellion in your relationships, right? And that's the reality of life, and that's okay. But we're watching her and we're watching him. She's drowning. And I love this shot of the pool. She dives into the pool and we cut away before she surfaces. And that's such a simple edit. The editor had an idea there, and it's so beautiful. That she cut away beforehand, because it's getting to this idea that she is underwater and struggling. And that's when she bumps into Bob again, invites him out to her friend's party. And that's their first adventure, and it's magical. And I love, he shows up to her room, and she immediately mocks him. She's so comfortable around him. She feels good with just making fun of him. Like, oh, you really are having a midlife crisis. And there's so many cool things that happens in this moment. He changes his shirt in her bathroom, and he's making fun of her bathroom. And she's checking him out. Like, she's sneaking, she is attracted to him. Like, you can call it, ridiculous or whatever, but this, Charlotte is actually physically interested in Bob. And it's like, oh, what? I kind of want to see, like, what's going on in there. And she's trying to not get noticed and called out for that or whatever. But the other cool thing that's happening in that moment is he showed up in a very loud camouflage t-shirt. And I think that's so cool, because to me, he just flips it inside out, right? I think it's speaking to this idea that he's hiding. And that he doesn't have to hide from her. She can see him. And that's okay. And he's okay with her seeing him. And that's kind of communicated through just the pattern, right? This camouflage pattern. And we see that echoed again after they go karaoke, right? And she's singing this sexy song to him. He sings a really deep, loving song to her. and it's just looks across the room at each other, right? It's very beautiful, and we all get the vibe. It's a vibe going on in there. And then they go out and they sit quietly in the hallway. She rests on his shoulder, which is lovely, but they're doing it in front of a zebra pattern, decor on the wall. And it's like they're hiding together. And I think that's very intentional. That's not an accidental thing. She's using patterns, this visual language, to communicate this idea that they're both kind of hidden from the world. And now they're hidden together. And I'm sure if I were to go through a third time, and watch everything, I would find even more of that stuff, right? And it's so subtle. And it's wonderful. It's just these layers that, Sofia Coppola is thinking through and communicating to her team, or maybe her team's coming up to her and saying, hey, I have an idea. And she's like, yes. Like, again, it's a team sport. And it's wonderful. And then the way they end that whole sequence, he carries her to bed. Oh, so good. And he tucks her in. He doesn't do anything. Obviously, it's just this very sweet thing. And then later we see them in bed together. Oh man, there's so many things going on in here. He takes her to the hospital. Oh my God. Did you notice in the waiting room with him, those two women in the back are laughing their heads off? It's so good.
Yes. Because he's trying to emulate that person he's sitting next to. He's like, ooh, 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 and they're just laughing.
Oh, they can't stop. It's so good. Yeah, and I love, so the camera language is mostly a lot of static shots, but she does use life. Like whenever they get chased off, right, with that guy shooting the gun, which is a really cool extra layer, because he says, he's making fun of himself. He's like, well, I told myself I want to be prepared in case we go to war. And obviously, they're nowhere near, but they end that night, with that guy shooting that gun at them. So they kind of do end up going to war, which is a fun little closed circle of his comment. But when they run away, that camera work, it's just so alive because we're handheld, we're running through the streets with them, and all that stillness is suddenly, you feel them connecting. It's a vibe, and it's only there. It only comes alive through the contrast of all the stillness. If you don't have that stillness, you don't have that life of them together running, holding hands through traffic. And it's just so, so beautiful. And this other idea of her stubbing her toe and it's, not looking good. And he takes her to the hospital. He's helping her heal whatever is going on in her life. And that's just another little semi-visual metaphor of what they're dealing with. And he's helping her get over something, this time in her life. Yeah, it's so good. And there's this other moment that I really, really just was moved by, and it's so simple as this entire movie is. He's on the phone. He's in the bathtub, and he gets a call from his wife, and they're having this conversation. And she says at the end, Bob, do I need to worry about you? And his response is so wonderful. He just says, only if you want to. It's like he's asking her, care, something, come to me. And I love it. He's reaching out and his own wife isn't hearing him. So they're both making these calls back home that are not being heard. They're being listened to, but they're not being heard. It's so, so good. And I love that last little moment of, because up until a certain point, we're wondering, will they, won't they? Does she actually want him? Or is this a comfort thing? And it becomes very clear whenever he sleeps with the lounge singer and we watch her react because she's stung and she sulks. And you're like, oh, she is actually jealous that wasn't her and she wanted something else. And it's so good that they never actually address it. Like they kind of talk about it, but not really. They're talking around it. And it's this elephant in the room of what they're both wanting but can't flat out state. And it's a movie full of you going into it and living in it. And that's the realness of it. And I think that's why it's lit the way it's lit. To me, it's beautiful. This is very much my kind of lighting, and it's not the kind of lighting anyone likes to do. And it sucks because it's a vibe, and it invites you in, and it allows you to be a part of the world instead of feeling like you're in a movie. It feels like you're just in someone else's life.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting moment too when she comes to the door and she finds out that he's just slept with the lounge singer, because no matter how you view their relationship, whether it's they want it to be physical but it can't be, or they just want to have that connection with each other because I feel like I know that person. Both of those are broken in that moment, because either it's she's jealous or it's that she's let down because he's done something she didn't think that he would do. Cheat on his wife and sleep with somebody that he, somebody else besides her, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this isn't the person I thought you were. And either way, it hurts. It hurts us as viewers, to see that. But then part of us kind of like forgives him because he looks around, he's like, oh, what did I do? He has this whole, the way that he acts is like, oh man, this was a mistake. I drank too much. But then also, not that we necessarily forgive him, but they never really talk about it.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they just say they go to a terrible lunch, and later on when he sees her, when the alarm goes off and they go outside, she says that was a terrible lunch or something like that. Yeah. And he agrees, and then they move on. It's almost like they accept that what he did was stupid and wrong and immediately let it go because they want to continue having this experience with each other, which is making them fall in love with the world and life in general. They're like finding this thing they're lacking in their own lives with each other. And they're willing to put that aside, what he did, in order to continue having that.
Yeah. And part of me, the way I also want to view it is he never tried to make a move on her. Right. And right. I think he didn't want to interfere because she was at the start of a marriage.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And he knew like, right. I'm at the end of my marriage. Like whatever happens is going to happen. I'm going to sleep with this lounge singer because why not? I've got this urge that's been built up, through this interaction. But if I sleep with her, I might be ruining the rest of her life, the rest of her marriage. And I don't want to take that from her. And so
yes,
that's the way I interpret it. And it's so cool because there's nothing really there for that. Like that's just me reading into everything. But it feels
I think it's a good
right.
way to see it. I agree. Yeah.
It's so cool. And God, look, Bill Murray isn't necessarily a handsome man, right? I think we can all say that, but he is charismatic. He's got a lot of charm. And in that way, I'm sure he's very sexy, because you can't help but be pulled to him. He's got a magnetic, personality, and you want to be around him, and that creates its own kind of appeal. And I completely buy into Charlotte wanting this guy, through the writing, of course, and through the performance of Bill Murray and everything. But Scarlett Johansson is a titan. She's just an incredible actor. And she was big, and this gets into my issue with her doing Marvel and being Black Widow. She didn't need it. The world needed her to not be Black Widow. And I'm glad, I'm sure she did it and she had a great time, and I'm glad if that's the way she wanted to do her career, cool. But here's my frustration with it is that we need more Lost in Translations. And whenever you're as big as Scarlett Johansson is, you have the power to greenlight new Lost in Translations. Because when an investor says, yeah, well, who you got? And, they're like, Jane Nobody out of, Schenectady, New York. And you're like, who? No, I'm sorry. We're not going to fund this. Like, no one's going to show up to that. Oh, okay. Well, what if we had Scarlett Johansson? Here's $5 million. Go make your movie. It just changes the math for everyone. And whenever you're doing those movies, your time is lost. Those things eat up so much time. And obviously she did so many of them. and appearances here and there, that I hate what we might have gotten if she had been able to do more films that she was passionate about, more Jonathan Glazer movies or whatever, In Her Skin, right? Like, that's a crazy, amazing indie film that doesn't work without her. Like, how many others of those, did we miss out on? And it just kills me when I'm watching these A-list actors with this pool. Like, Robert Downey needed Marvel, right? That was part of his comeback. He needed Marvel. And so great call, great use of RDJ. Chris Evans needed Marvel. I get that. Like, he wasn't, like, to me, he was great. Like, I wanted more Sunshines, but okay, fine. He wasn't brand name just yet. And like every one of those other actors, like, they needed Marvel. She was the one actor going in there. They needed her. And it sucks. It really does crush me because of how many artists out there are trying to get projects made and how much someone like that. And I feel like we're watching Florence Pugh kind of do the same thing now. Like, she doesn't need Marvel. Like, get out of there. Like, go make your other Midsommars. You're like, what are you doing? Like, you're on the rise of Scarlett Johansson, and now you're doing Marvel stuff. I don't know. Maybe it'll end up helping her become more household name. I feel like she was already there to the extent that she needed to be to make her own Lost in Translations, but it pains me because it's already hard enough to get movies made whenever you steal away talent who gets movies greenlit. God, movie theaters are dying. Like, we need people that can get, and now I don't know if she has the same pull as she would have had if she had stayed away from Marvel, because now people see her as Black Widow. It's like, how hard is it to go and make another Marriage Story? Like, I don't know. But if you had stayed away, like, Natalie Portman can still pull a crowd enough to get her passion projects off the ground. And that's, I don't know. So that's,
I just think,
my rant.
I think also that's good. And I think that also just the industry is so broken.
Yeah.
In general, like, to green light something like this now, would be really hard. I feel like, and you have these $300 million budgets, and it's just absolutely ludicrous. It's just insane. You can make 100 movies like this instead of one movie, with all of these A-list actors that get $20 million a movie, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And this is the kind of film that well, okay, I think that we're also to blame too as society. We don't go see movies like Lost in Translation in the theater.
Yeah.
Now we go and see Snow White, and we go and see Craven, and like these, movies that they're not about the feeling, the emotion. But if more movies like this were greenlit and put out, I think that we could maybe as a society get back to that. And I think that I totally agree. We have lost a big, I don't want to say talent, because, she's good at everything she does, like it doesn't matter. She's good at the action scenes in Black Widow and everything and all that's good stuff. But like the meat and potatoes that sticks to your bones, you watch this and it sticks with you. We get emotional talking about this film, the next day watching it, and maybe you watched it this morning, but I still get emotional just talking about the feeling that I get watching it. And that's because of her performance, and we've kind of like lost that. And I'm not away from Marvel. Marvel's is fun, and it's engaging, and it's rewarding at times and stuff. And it's great, but let's be honest, like, it's nothing when it comes to staying power, when it comes to, you walking out of the theater and 2 weeks later still being physically and emotionally affected by it. There's there are a handful of movies. Actually, there's a lot of movies that do that, but none of them are, are that. So I just, I don't know. We need more stuff like this. Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. I just adore this movie, and it came at a really good time in terms of, I've been very head down on like plot and making sure this thing is plotless. This thing is going absolutely nowhere in a rush, and it's thrilling. It's so good. You can't take your eyes off it. It's just a good reminder that if you're writing good scenes and if you have good ideas, it's okay to not get caught up in all the technical aspects of your story, that you can really just sit with the character and experience what they're experiencing, as long as you know the story you're trying to tell and what it means and what this moment means. And so much of this movie is a collective moment. It's a mosaic of moments. It's not about one particular scene. It's about how this scene and this scene and this scene all in a row suddenly make you feel. And then it wells up in you through carrying all these thoughts and ideas and emotions and unfulfilled feelings. And then you get to the end and it's like the dam breaks. And it's just like, oh, I didn't know that was there. So good.
Yeah, man.
God, that's my final thought. What do you got? Final thoughts?
I really think that this is a film that every filmmaker needs to study in every sense, from the acting to the writing to the directing to the cinematography. I mean, there's this moment that just happened that I just realized because I'm watching it with the sound off. And by the way, great films like this, when you watch them with the sound off, you notice so much more. You know, I think you do that when we do these episodes too. And I think that it like stirs some stuff. So there's a scene where his wife sends him swatches of carpet, says, I like the burgundy. And then later on, he's laying on the bed and he talking to her. The camera pans. We see in the distance the swatches of carpet on the floor by the door, and it pans down to him laying on the bed talking to her about the swatches. Now, imagine that shot just starting on him laying in the bed talking about the swatches. Yeah, we'd remember the scene of him looking at the swatches earlier, but we don't have to remember it because the camera shows it and shows the swatches on the floor and then pans down to him. So we know what this whole conversation is about. When she says, oh, they don't have the burgundy, he's like, oh, just go with whatever. It's not even about the swatches, but we don't have to, it's coming to us, we don't have to remember him, receiving the swatches and looking at them on the ground. It's shown to us. It's a beautiful moment.
It's great. It's like in a TV show, right? You're on the 5th episode and so much has happened over the last 4 episodes and you need a reminder. It's like, oh, previously on, and you get caught up again. And so whenever they show you those swatches on the floor, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, which is really good to, rejigger it, shake it loose in your head. And then he makes this comment, and what you remember is how he didn't know which one was burgundy. He's like, what's burgundy? And then he gets on the phone with his wife, and it's a layer of humor where he's like, yeah, the burgundy. It was obvious. None of the other ones even made sense. It was obviously the burgundy. You're like, he doesn't even know which one is that, And it's just, again, communicating something to us about his relationship with his wife, and how they still can't really connect and speak the same language. He's talking. He can't even hear the color that she's describing with the color sitting in front of him.
Yeah.
That's so many layers in this movie, and it's just, anyway.
So
sorry.
Good. Yeah. Anyway, great film.
One
to study.
What are you going to recommend this week, man?
This week, oh my gosh, I have gone down a rabbit hole. I'm not going to recommend a film. I think, what did I recommend last week? I just want to make sure that I'm going to do this right. Hang on one second. Okay, I did. Okay, great. This week I'm going to recommend a band. I've just discovered this band and I'm late to the game. They've been around since 2016, but I am fucking obsessed. Sleep Token. If you haven't listened to this band, just go listen to, they just put out a new single called Emergence. and it's a heavy metal band. Sometimes they scream, sometimes they rap, sometimes there's a lore behind them. Nobody knows who they are. They wear masks. They're not super scary. It's not like Slipknot or anything, but it's this singer, he goes by Pestle, and the lore is this god of sleep came to him in a dream and promised him wealth and success and riches if he started a band, and every song is called an offering to this god of sleep. And so all of the music they've been putting out is like this, and it's really beautiful. He's a great singer. All the band members, their names are 2, 3, and 4. So it's Pestle and then 2, 3, and 4. And but his lyrics are beautiful. His singing is beautiful, and it's kind of different and sounds really dark and everything. And then when it gets really heavy, it feels more purposeful. You know, like if you listen to Screamo, it's just always loud and always aggressive. It doesn't feel like it's earned it to me, right? Like, give me a reason to scream. Give me a reason to like go super heavy with guitars and your tones. And this band does it perfectly. It's, you know, like the song will start out like calm and beautiful, and then it erupts into this massive, huge thing. And I mean, you have like these really big Screamo bands who are just in love with this band. Like this band is taking metal into the new age. And when this single came out, it came out the same time that I think it was Metallica and a couple other huge artists who, when they release a single, always goes number one, and this song went number one.
Oh.
So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to recommend Sleep Token. I'm super into it now. It's great to listen to when you work out too. Just saying.
A lot of juice in that.
Had a max bench the other day.
I was about to say PRs left and right.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes,
nice.
Sir.
I'm going to recommend, if you enjoy, like, obviously Lost in Translation and Garden State, and you just kind of like a vibe of two people connecting, dealing with things, I'm going to recommend a movie called Cashback. It came out in 2007, and it's very much in this vein. So if you need another one, you're like, I could really just use one more of those. Cashback is what you're looking for. So check that out. It's usually streaming somewhere. If not, you know, it's probably worth a $5 rental, I would say. Highly recommend that. Stay tuned for next week, where we take a new mission. Mission Impossible, the original, the Brian De Palma 1996, the one that launched. I can't say it launched at all because it was obviously a remake of a TV show from, I don't even know when, the 20s. Like, I don't know when the original, like whatever, the 50s, 60s or something. But yeah, we'll take a look at the original Mission Impossible film from 1996, Brian De Palma. So stay tuned for that. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, leave us a note. Something you want us to cover, let us know. If you want to comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/lostintranslation. And
I love the quote from today. Our quote of the day is from Sofia Coppola.
There's two of them, so you can read them both or one. I don't. You do.
Oh, no, I'm going to read them both. Okay. Hell yeah. All right. So this quote of the day is from Sofia Coppola. I just try to make what I want to make or what I want to see. I try not to think about the audience too much. There are always things that I wish were different, or I feel like I've made mistakes, but it's just part of it. I don't mind that it's a little homemade. I mean, that's so beautiful coming from somebody who, you know, could make anything that they want to make.
Yes.
And when my daughter, she does art a lot, and I see she'll spend hours on this piece of art that she's working on, and then she'll mess up, and she'll get upset, or she has gotten upset, and I'll tell her there's no mistakes in art, and now she believes it. Now she fully believes that when she messes up, it's just an opportunity to make some other part of this into something else. Wow. I think this quote like really makes me feel that. It makes me feel like that's really wonderful. It's somebody who could make anything that they want to make, is okay with mistakes, is okay with it being a little homemade. That's such a beautiful way to say that, you know? Oh,
what a great, amazing, first off, wow. with Charlotte, your daughter. Holy crap. But yeah, I love that phrase too. I don't mind that it's a little homemade. Like you're right. That's such a beautiful idea and interpretation of what you're making. Because yeah, I don't know what the budget on Lost in Translation. I guessed like $1 million, between $1 and $2 million. Let's look. Budget. $4 million. Okay. Which, you're going to go shoot in Tokyo. You probably need some millions, and one of those millions probably goes to Bill himself. But that's such a cool idea. Like, I spent $4 million making this thing, and that shot's soft, but that's okay. That's part of the fun.
I
right?
noticed that too.
Right?
Yes.
But it's like, I like that performance, so that's the shot I'm going with. Like, I bet she had other takes. There's no way she didn't have 3 or 4 other takes of Scarlett Johansson delivering that line. That's just almost as good. Almost. But you know what? That one's the best. And that's what I like. I'm going with it. It's fine. And I love that. That's such a great... And I love the first half of this quote is, I try to make what I want to make. I try not to think about the audience too much. That's hard. I mean, that's how I used to write, and I've gotten away from that. I've gotten into what's the audience experience, and that you really do need to think about that, depending on the film you're trying to make. If you're making a thriller, you damn well better be thinking about the audience experience. But you know what? If you're making a movie about loneliness and feeling lost, just think about you.
Yeah. Well said.
Oh.
And just to add to that a little bit, the fact that this movie look, I think that Bill Murray did this because he just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
In no world does he charge only $1 million to be in a film. No freaking world. But a $4 million budget, and it made $120 million worldwide. Come on.
Oh my God. Holy
If
crap.
that is not a damn statement to stop spending $300 million on movies, I don't know what. Like, it's just bass backwards. And yes, we as watchers maybe go to see the films that we think are going to bring us a little bit of joy in that day, right? And maybe it's not really the one that's lost in translation necessarily. Yeah. However, when you spend $130 million or $200 million, it's so impossible to make your money back. How can you ever make any movie like this? But this movie hit something. It resonated with millennials at the time, and made $120 million worldwide. That is a 3,000% return or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, that is insane. How is that not the standard going forward for studios? It's so great. I love that Sofia. Was this her first movie?
No, this was after Virgin Suicides, which we need to cover. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, we need to. I'm so proud of her for doing this, and on the budget, like $4 million, like, that's crazy. So when you said $4 million, I was like, there's no way. Oh my God. So I had to look it up myself. That's amazing. And for her to be okay, like, knowing this is only $4 million, and so it is going to feel a little homemade. We are going to have some soft shots. We are going to, have to work in edit bay for some things and maybe make some concessions. And I'm okay with that. It's
Holy
awesome.
crap. I was right. He actually did get paid $1 million. Well, there you go.
You got to have some money for the crew.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just her running around with a camera.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And
that just goes to show you too, they can't have had a lot of lighting.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, you got limited time. Like, okay, you're going to spend, $20,000 on this location. You got it for 8 hours, and like, get in, get your shots, and get out. Yeah, I don't know, but I love what you just said, man. Just go make it for the right reasons. And I think right now people aren't. They're making content. This goes back to an old conversation. They're like, I just want to make something, and they forget, like, yeah, I know you want to make something, but does it mean anything to you? Because if it doesn't, you shouldn't be making it. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, if this doesn't actually mean something to you, you really should not be making it at all. And that's how you get $320 million stupid movies. Not naming any names.
We could.
Anyway, that's a whole electric fence of, pain waiting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's all I got, I think.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I loved talking about this movie. I can't believe it took us this long to do it, but I'm so glad we did. Hopefully you liked it. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you listen, review us, share us with your friends. It all helps a ton. And if there's a film you'd like to see us talk about or pick apart, let us know. Who knows? Maybe we'll cover it one day. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch the movies. Santori time.